So my 3 days off, I try and do as much campaigning as I can. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ray Igou. I live in Saugus. I'm an airline pilot by profession. If you'd asked me 5 years ago what I'd be doing, I would never have guessed running for office. This is the last thing I planned on doing. What got me to run was, number one, the birth of my son recently. And the more I thought about it and the more I looked at the candidates that were running, I decided that the three that were running weren't going to change anything. And they were electing either or any of them was just electing more of the same of what we already have. One candidate, the existing incumbent Democrat who's been there for 10 years, has voted between 96 and 98% of the time the exact way the Speaker of the House has, with whoever that Speaker has to happen to be. The last three Speakers of the House have all been indicted for felonies. So I really can't. And I've looked at his voting record. It's atrocious. I actually have his voting record posted on my website. That's my idea of transparency. If I'm in office, my voting record will be posted where people can get to it and see it. I had to go get existing state reps to dig it up because you couldn't find it anyplace. It's on my website if anybody wants it. It's www.rayigou.com, R-A-Y-I-G-O-U. The other candidate that's running is he's a very nice young man. He's 24 years old. He just graduated law school. He's not yet admitted to the bar. He's unemployed, living at home, has never held a job, a full-time job in his entire life. He's a likable guy. He's also the first person that congratulated me on the birth of my son.
Does he know how to fly a plane?
I'll teach him. He is a nice guy, and I'm sure that he means well. He's currently, he's probably one of the youngest people I've seen that's been elected to his town school committee. And, but, absent the life experience of paying for a home, paying taxes, working for a living for a paycheck, I just don't think I want him deciding how best to spend my tax money and your tax money, and making decisions of what laws should be passed and what haven't when he hasn't even lived his life yet outside of school. That brings us to the last candidate, who is my opponent in the Republican primary. His name is Donald Wan. He's the owner of the Calhoun restaurant on Route 1 in Saugus. Donald is everything a good American should be. He's a sixth generation business owner in the restaurant. He's raised 3 great kids. By all counts, he's a very successful person. He's given more back to the town in terms of grants and gifts than anyone could shake a stick at. You couldn't write a newspaper article with all the different things he's involved in. The only endeavor he's taken upon himself that I find fault with is his political career. He is currently the chairman of the Board of Selectmen in Saugus. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Saugus in detail, but the town is financially bankrupt, borderline bankrupt. The priorities in the town, we voted to buy a trash truck rather than fund the library. That's how they voted. Last winter, we had to wait till the snow was 4 inches deep before they started plowing because they'd run through the budget. The mismanagement from one end of that town's government to the other, which he runs, has just been unconscionable. The icing on the cake for me with Donald was when he and the board of directors voted themselves a $2,000 pay raise in the middle of the worst recession since the Great Depression. That prompted me to go out and start collecting signatures. And that brings us to where we are today. There's been some polls. There was a poll done in the Wakefield paper that I beat him. There was a poll done in the Saugus paper where he trumped me. We had one televised debate on cable TV where some people says he wins and some people say I win. It depends who you talk to and what the way the wind is blowing. At this point, all I'm looking for is support from people, either making phone calls, and everyone else has said that's what it takes. That's what it takes to get elected. It takes. Anybody can get up in front of a group of people and tell you what's wrong with the country and say, I'm the guy to fix it. Anybody can do that. I can stand up here and say, you know, I know all the facts. I can stand up here and say that, you know, illegal immigration in Massachusetts as of 2004 was costing $450 million per year, and then dollar cost averaged with the, you know, social costs and everything in 2010, the estimate from FAIR, which is an online thing that researches that, they came up with a, you know, cost just to Massachusetts of $980 million a year. That's what illegals cost us in Massachusetts. So everything you've heard from the other candidates about, you know, how they need to fix it at the federal level, that's what we're paying for it at the state level. We're paying $980 million a year. At the same time, you're hearing the other candidates talking about how Chapter 70 funding for local aid in schools, you know, is underfunded. You know, where this town is not getting their 17.5%, and that city is not getting their 17.5%. And, you know, what I'm saying, and then they're also talking about how the pipes underneath Route 1 keep breaking. I mention these things because they're symptoms of a disease. They're not the actual problem. The actual problem in this country is very simple. Jobs. There's no jobs. Illegal immigration is killing us. And uncontrolled runaway spending at all levels, from town, city, state, and federal. If you fix those three things, you're going to have the money for the stuff that's underfunded right now. If you take somebody off, when I say jobs, if we take somebody off of unemployment, we're saving that money. We put them onto the job, now we're getting payroll taxes. The company's sending payroll taxes. That's where the money comes from. You know, the government doesn't, as others have said, the government doesn't create jobs, private industry does. Massachusetts ranks near the bottom, 47 or 48, nationwide in being pro-business. We can't keep driving business out of this state and expecting our level of services to remain the same. So what we need to do is take some type of action. Let's copy who's at the top of the list. Whatever they're doing, it's working. Okay? So why don't we, you know, adjust the tax rate? The corporate tax rate here is among the highest in the country. I think it's the 4th highest in the country. Why don't we knock it back down so that a company pays the same as what an individual does? Okay, but let's tie that tax cut to jobs, to creation. We're not just going to give you that money so you can take it and run and put it in your pocket. Okay? You have to qualify for that tax cut or that tax credit. You have to create full-time jobs with benefits. And if you do that, you get the tax breaks. You get to keep that money. And that's going to get them off unemployment and create the jobs, create the payroll taxes, and that keeps the system running. So that's one of my ideas for addressing the jobs issue just here in Massachusetts. The taxes and the regulations are killing the companies. They can't expand. In my case, the airline I fly for, they closed our base in Boston because the cost of doing business in Massachusetts was too great. I now travel to Chicago every week to start my trips. So, you know, so I'm living proof of how this state is treating